Hello YouTube, this is Almost here with another episode of Wargame Airland Battle. Today we're starting the campaign ZHUKOV-2. So let's see, War in Germany stalemate. And looks like the fighting's concentrated in Scandinavia, which is where we'll be fighting. Large scale offensive, which is aimed at Scandinavia. Okay. So let's see. Our objectives for this campaign are to seize Stockholm and Stavanger in less than 15 days. Okay. So we have fewer objectives this time. We're playing as Pact, so let's see. Also we can set difficulty. I'm going to keep the difficulty at medium because I think this is hard enough to be interesting, but the AI won't key too much to be irritating. Because as we know on normal it keyed it a lot anyway, so let's see how this goes. Right, so storm approaching and day 0, right. So we have 20 points and we have a huge variety of strikes to call on, but we have no forces to call on, so we're going to have to be limited to what we have. So we have 6 forces. As usual, the mouse is not mousing over the actual unit, isn't how you select it. You have to be slightly to the right and down a bit. So we've got Polish forces here. We have a Soviet brigade here, but it's a bit low on initiative and morale. Another Polish force here. Let's find it again. There it is. A Soviet force here. Okay. Back here at Stronghold. Where is it? Okay, well, mousing over the one that's in Stromstund is actually how you activate this motorized regiment, which is back here. Which I'm going to look at that thing for a second. Support tanks. Okay, so, and where's the one at Stromstund? This is very irritating. I mean, I've looked at other people and they don't seem to be having this problem, so I don't know if it's just my computer or something. So there we go. We have a bunch of various units and we have the options to attack. Right, so Stockholm and Stavanger, if I remember correctly, are objectives. Stockholm's here and then Stavanger's over here, so attacks on both fronts will be necessary to win, but none of our forces are near the front lines. So I think what we're going to do for day 0, we're not going to have any fighting, we're just going to move forces up to our front line. Also I'm going to leave some guys behind, because if we look here, we've got a lot of income sectors, 3, 3, 3, 3, 2 and 2. So all very sort of high value sectors, and NATO could take it. I'm pretty sure NATO can attack from this ocean and airborne forces can hit anywhere they want. So I'm going to leave some of these forces in reserve, get them on R&R so they have a good enough initiative, so if I need to call on them they can get down here with enough initiative left to fight. But if they attack any of my point centers, I can respond. Right, so let's go and select these guys again. Right, so these guys, I want you to move up here. You, wherever your icon is, you've actually got quite good, it might be Polish, which obviously limits the kind of quality of the units, but it is high initiative and high morale, so that's a plus. And this force here. In terms of the sectors, like which attack do I want to concentrate on first, Sweden or Norway? Norway's got 2, or well, actually Norway's got 3 high point sectors. Sweden's got these 2. See, Sweden's got a lot of nothing here, where even if you push up and take this areas, you won't be rewarded for it. But then again, you don't actually have to push into these areas because the objective is Stockholm, which is much closer than Stavanger. I think we're going to prioritize our attack on Sweden for the first part. This territory here, it doesn't really matter if we leave under NATO's control because they won't get any points for it, even though they can reinforce from Denmark. I think we'll be good on that front. So we'll concentrate on Sweden first to take Stockholm, leave a few units that might be exhausted there, and then push into Oslo and Stavanger. That's the plan in the long run. So let's take this. These guys are quite low on initiative, but then again they'll be on the sort of Norwegian front, so they'll probably be a frontline defense force, stop any forces situated in Norway and pushing up. Kristiansand, well, you know, it's not a critical loss. If any NATO units attack, I can just send these guys after them. Right, now what to do with these reserve forces? I need to check their initiative. Is that okay? So let's see. These guys are actually doing quite well. Where's the icon? It's so frustrating. They've got low morale, which I don't think R&R helps with them with. But they're actually quite a good force. It might be something I want on the front line, if needs be. Yeah, I'm going to move these guys up to Sundsvall, simply because they're still in a position to recapture Stromström or Ornskaf. I'm not going to try and pronounce that. They'll be in a position to defend both of them, and if we need them, like if we need a good solid unit in the front line of fighting, we can call on them. These guys at Stormstrand. Where are they? Where's their select? There it is. They've got quite low initiative, so I'm going to tell them to refuel and recover. And these guys up in the north, same story. So these guys are covering the two high value areas. If Trondheim comes under attack from NATO, we can just defend it. In the meantime, let's have a look at our strike options. So we've got aerial recon, air raid, chemical weapons, lose 3 initiative, and can't rest and recuperate. That's quite a good one, but it's quite expensive at 30, and we only seem to have one of those available, so that's nasty. Postponed troop deployments, that's valuable. It's aerial cover, so that denies air raid security troops. Protected from enemy commandos, that could be valuable, especially as they don't cost anything. And right, okay, so I think we're going to use camouflage just for 1 here, just to hide. Actually, I'm going to hide this unit here, simply because that might lure them into a false sense of securement and attack here, and then they'll have a division that they weren't expecting to face. Security troops, commando raids. I think we'll do. These guys are probably going to be doing the initial fighting, so we'll place the security troops here. And aerial cover will just protect these guys here. All these other units, apart from aerial recon, which I actually want to see. If Uppsala's not taken, we could push up, so I'm going to do aerial recon. Is there anything here? No, there isn't. Right, so basically aerial recon spotting what we have, and then these are just to defend our attacking forces. So, sum up the plan before we send the orders. These 3 divisions to the rear are being used to defend our forces, and if needs be, I can just redeploy them to the front line, especially the one, this 265th Guards, I think it is? Yeah. They'll be redeployed to the front line if the fight calls for it. In the meantime, this tank force is going to be deploying Cursed. Oh, I hate these names. Okay, these 2 sectors here. It's going to defend them from any attack from southern Norway. And then when the fighting calls for it, hopefully they'll have rested and recuperated enough to have a good initiative to push into Norway itself. These forces are going to try and push down into Sweden. Full support for the Swedish offensive. We'll try and capture Örebro, Stockholm, and Karlstad, and then just hold the line, so any attacks coming from Gothenburg and Vimmerby, it basically leaves NATO with this wide track of area that won't give them any political points. So that's send the orders. Doubt there'll be any fighting for the first day. Oh, there's a NATO force coming up here. First Czech army has launched an attack. Take Munich and advance to the Rhine. So that's what's going on in southern Europe. Additional Spetsnaz. That's good. So we've got a Spetsnaz force on standby. Visibility is almost 0. Right, so I'm guessing aerial recon is denied. Yeah, unavailable. Okay. So we have 2 forces here. We have an East German unit, which is a Marine, which I'm guessing can only they can only be deployed on this coast, and this Guards motorized, which can only be deployed right to the rear. Right, I think we're gonna let's see what forces these guys have. So infantry, marine, logistics. What kind of tanks? See, it's only got T55 in its variants, which limits the kind of offensive power the East German force can have. Whereas here, this tank only has. That's a problem. These guys only have access to very high-end tanks. Although they've got bucks, which are nice. Good range of artillery vehicles. Few aircraft. A lot of command vehicles. Yeah, that's the thing. This is the better force, but it's more expensive, and it's going to take a while to get here because it can only be deployed to the rear. Whereas the Marine force can be deployed anywhere. I mean, I could launch an attack on Stockholm today, and you know, we would be able to launch an attack on Stockholm. Also, I could launch air raids while still having enough points for the Marines. It's a tricky decision. I know this first episode is going to be me looking at this map. So let's see, Stockholm is obviously a nice prize, a lot of political points, but there's almost certainly a NATO force there defending it. I could launch the Marines down at Vimmerby, because it's a 0-point sector. I doubt there'd be a force defending it, and then I could push into Stockholm, but I don't see the advantage of that really. I think also these guys are a lot more morale. These guys don't barely have any. But then again, morale isn't as critical for us. I think I'm just going to deploy the guards motorized because there's only a few trips behind. It saves up these guys the forces, and we've got high-end tanks. Because that's the thing. If you want to be aggressive, wait a second. These guys, AA systems are also good here. They've got a good range. This is a very tricky decision to make. What force do we have? We have more naval. See, we've got more naval and air assaults. Guard, VDV, tanks, independent VDV, tanks, and more tanks. I think I'm going to go with the Marines, land them in Stockholm, and launch an attack on Uppsala. So we'll launch that attack. We're also going to, let's see, air raid. What do we have? 2 initiative points, and infrastructure is neutralized, which is nice. And we can't afford chemical weapons. So I think an air raid to support the attack on Stockholm, and then these guys will push south to Uppsala and then to Stockholm to reinforce them if the battle requires it. In the meantime, let's get these guys to push south to Uppsala. Let's see. In the meantime, everyone else in the rear should be given rest and recuperation orders unless their initiative is full already. Once again, we have to find these stupid icons. This is really time consuming. I really hate doing this. Right, rest and recuperation. Just because if these guys have to be called on, I want them to be able to drive with enough momentum to actually be valuable by the time they get to the southern areas. Right, so these guys are rest and recuperating. This tank force, I think, could rest and recuperate. It's where it needs to be. If these guys attack, then they'll be done resting and recuperating, and their initiative is low. So, and there's an airport here. I'm not actually sure. I think I'll just push into Malm. I don't know what these guys at Lillehammer are planning. But then again, the initiative is low, and if they're going to get into a fight like that, nah, let's just keep up the momentum. We're doing a sort of blitzkrieg style attack with the Marine tiers, so let's send those orders. Oh, they've got 2 forces here, but the commandos are low on initiative. Why would you even want to surrender? I don't know. Right, so they've got 2 forces here. It looks like the British and another tank force. So the first match of the campaign, familiar position here where we are at Fedor, and we have Orabo, Uppsala, and Vimmerby. So we're gonna let's see what this force has. It's got trucks and various types of command vehicles. That's nice. Recon, we got choppers, keeps, armored, and infantry. So that's a good selection of recon. Tanks, as I mentioned before, poor choice of tanks. Let's hope the British don't have any high-end tanks to face off against. Lots of infantry to choose from. We got the Marine-Schustzen, the reserve forces, Strela infantry. Looks like dedicated anti-tank forces, special forces. So we got a good selection of infantry. Support, we've got Cubs, which are good for anti-missile defense. Strelas for the backup. We've got mortars, we've got artillery guns, and we've got rockets. So this is actually a pretty solid force here. Conkers, they're good for vehicles. Let's see, it's got 80 guns and rockets, so that's a good enough attack helicopter. And what do we have here? We have dedicated bomber, and everything. So we got a good selection of forces. Actually, aside from the drawback of the tanks, this is actually a pretty good force. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to start off by positioning reserves, as if you remember from last time, when I think it was the US airborne that we were dropping in to Stockholm. Basically the plan is more or less the same here, it's just we're using Pact forces instead of NATO forces, which should work to our advantage, because normally NATO works better as an attacking nation, Pact works better as a defending one. So now that we're Pact attacking, NATO defending, it sort of works to our advantage there. A bit, maybe. I don't know. The lack of tanks is always hurtful for an attacker, but then again, Orbo is quite a close quarters attack here. I mean, that there's fields, yes, but the fact that it's like you can spawn units so close to the actual fight. The open fields don't actually mean that much difference. It's still going to be a close quarters fight. That's a good range of defenses. In terms of anti-aircraft defenses, we're going to be going straight ahead and deploying our Cub batteries. Actually, I'm going to split them up a bit more. Cluster bombs, artillery. We only have these 4 missiles, we might as well make use of them. Let's deploy another FOB here to keep both sides stocked up. Well, this I'll have to redeploy the FOB here, say. Keep these 2 missiles stocked up. So now we have our defenses, and let's work on the offensive. It's a bit ironic that the fact that our best tank is a command tank. Right, let's see. Do we have any dedicated ATKM infantry? No, we do not. So these are only ATKMs. I'm going to keep them in reserve for now. So I think it's better to just have them if we need to defend than if we're going to attack. Seeing as there's 2 battle groups here, we'll have to do a lot of fighting, most likely. We're going to deploy a recon helicopter for the good sight lines, and oh dear, these are airborne recon units. That makes them slightly less effective than traditional recon forces, simply because I can't just pop them out of their transports immediately and get them to hide in the woods at the start. But you know, needs must. So we'll deploy 2 more recon units, and then we're gonna start with the swarms of T-55s. Fortunately, we only have 12. I mean, that's still a huge number. So we're going to deploy our flamethrower tanks as reserve. We've got good initiative here, so I'm going to want to make full use of this. Also because, obviously... Actually, see, I want to hold Fedor, but... I don't know. So what we could do... I wonder how good NATO's anti-aircraft defenses will be, because if I deploy enough helicopters here... No, I'll call these ones back and substitute it for some Marine-Schustzen infantry. These are usually good ambush infantry. This is an unprotected helicopter, so that's... We'll give these guys some cannon fodder to help them out. You know, obviously they're still good infantry. Maybe not as good in the anti-tank role, because they only have an RPG too, but... they should do the job. So the plan is simple. We're going to start off from Fedor, push into Orbo with a complete swarm of tanks, T-55s, TO-55s. We're just going to try and swarm them in, deluge them with cannon fire. I'm actually going to focus our lines here. We'll only have 1 group of 4 back here, but we'll give it some TO-55s as support. Keep this guy up, don't want to have any blocked sight lines. So the T-55s will push in and knock out the command and all NATO units in and around the Orbo area. Then we'll move our SPW command vehicle into Orbo, capturing it. Well, and then that's pretty much the objective of the mission. I don't want to be too aggressive, but even though we have good initiative, I can't afford to lose too many good units, because obviously we're facing 2 battle groups today. And then we'll have to face them tomorrow as well, because reinforcements are still some distance away. They're close, but